Lila, are you done yet? A sharp voice yelled from the living room. Yes, Mama, she answered quickly, her voice trembling. That voice wasn't her mother's. It was Madame Beatrice, her father's new wife, a woman whose smiles never reached her eyes, and the house she had been born into, the house she had called home, had become a prison. Just 16 years ago, Lila had been her father's little princess. Mr. Ozeratin, a respected businessman in the neighborhood, had carried her on his shoulders, laughed with her, and promised her the world. But that was before tragedy struck. Her mother died suddenly, leaving Lila alone in a world that suddenly felt cold and cruel. And her father, he changed. Within months, Beatrice arrived, and with her came a new life Lila did not belong to. The moment Beatrice set foot in the house, Lila's world shifted. No longer a daughter, she became a maid. Her mornings began before dawn. She fetched water, prepared breakfast, bathed Beatrice's 2 children, cleaned floors until her knees ached, and scrubbed dishes until her fingers bled. By the time she sat down for a rare moment of rest, her back screamed from the work, and her stomach twisted from hunger. And yet, she dared not complain. Lila, did you finish cleaning the sitting room? Beatrice demanded one morning, her face twisted in irritation. Yes, Mama, Lila whispered, bowing her head. Then why is there still dust on that cabinet? Are you trying to anger me? I cleaned it, Mama, Lila stammered, her voice barely audible. Beatrice's eyes flashed. She slammed her hand down, knocking a vase over. Lila flinched instinctively. Useless girl. Look at this mess. Her father, seated at the dining table, watched in silence. His silence hurt more than any insult or slap could. That night, hiding in the small storeroom where she slept, Lila hugged her knees tightly. Rain tapped on the roof above, matching the rhythm of her tears. She thought of school, her books, her notebooks, the dreams of becoming a nurse, of helping people, of leaving poverty behind. Dreams that now seemed impossible, dreams she was told to forget. And then she heard Beatrice whisper to her own children in the hallway. She's growing too fast. Soon she wants to go to boys' parties, or make a fuss. We have to keep her in her place. Lila's chest tightened. She pressed her face to the thin mattress and let out a soft sob. Her father's love, once so warm now, felt like a ghost. His eyes no longer sparkled with pride. His words of encouragement had vanished, and in that house the girl who had once been cherished was now a shadow, a maid, invisible except when there was work to be done. As the storm raged outside, Lila made a silent promise to herself. One day I will not be invisible. One day I will be free. And no one will ever take my life from me again. But for now, all she could do was survive. The morning sun tried to pierce through the dirty windows, but inside the house, the air was thick with tension. Lila carefully arranged the breakfast table, placing plates of steaming yam and eggs before Beatrice and her children. Her hands shook slightly after months of silence and fear. She had learned that any small mistake could cost her more than just a scolding. Then, without warning, Beatrice's voice cut like a knife. Lila, where is my money? Lila froze, her heart stopping. What money, Mama? She asked, trying to keep her voice calm. The 20,000 naira I had in my purse. Beatrice screamed, yanking open her bag and scattering its contents onto the floor. Lila's stomach twisted. She hadn't touched it, not even a naira. But she knew the rules in this house. Accusation meant punishment, whether she was guilty or not. I didn't take it, she whispered. Beatrice's eyes narrowed. Liar. You think I won't notice? You think I can't see you sneaking around? Her father walked into the room, drawn by the shouting. He looked at Lila, his face unreadable. Is this true? He asked softly. She stole my money. Beatrice cried. Check her bag. Before Lila could protest, Beatrice tore apart her small school bag, dumping notebooks, a hairbrush, and her few clothes onto the dusty floor. Nothing, not even a coin. Beatrice only laughed. Cold. Cruel. Maybe she hid it somewhere else. That girl is very clever. Too clever, maybe. Lila's eyes pleaded with her father. Daddy, please. I didn't steal anything. Please believe me, he sighed, looking at her with that same calm detachment that had haunted her since her mother died. Beat her, he said quietly. If she didn't steal, the truth will come out. The words were like ice sliding into her chest. Beat her. Beatrice handed a thick broomstick to her son, Kelvin, just 17. Still a boy himself. Teach her a lesson, she said, her tone like venom. Kelvin hesitated, his eyes flicking between his sister and the trembling girl before him. But fear of his mother outweighed his hesitation. He lifted the broom. The first strike hit Lila's back. She screamed, collapsing to the floor. The second struck her legs. The third landed on her shoulders. Pain exploded across her body, but she refused to cry too loudly. There were neighbors nearby, and shame was part of her punishment. I'm innocent, please. I didn't steal anything. She cried, her voice breaking. No one listened. By the time it ended, Lila could barely breathe. She crawled to the corner of her small sleeping room, clutching her arms around herself. Tears mixed with the grime on her skin, making a salty paste. Hours later, when she thought she could finally rest, she overheard a conversation outside her door. The money was in my trouser pocket all along, her father said quietly. Silence. Beatrice laughed. Oh, then she was lucky. No apology. No regret. Just a cruel lesson in humiliation. That night, as Lila lay on the thin mattress that barely kept the cold from her bones, a fire lit inside her heart. I will leave this place. I will not be a slave here. I will not let this house destroy me. For the first time, she began to plan her escape. Lila waited. For weeks, she watched, quietly, silently, every movement in the house. Every time Beatrice went out. Every time her father was at church. Every chance she could find to run away. She hid small amounts of money, whenever she could. 200 naira here, 100 there. From the neighbors she helped with washing and errands. Every coin, every note was a seed of her freedom. She packed her small bag slowly, carefully, over several nights. 2 dresses, a pair of worn slippers, her old school certificates, her mother's faded photograph. Everything else she left behind. She had no time for treasures. Only survival mattered. Then, one night, the moment arrived. Beatrice had traveled to Aussie with her children for a family ceremony. Her father had gone to the night vigil at church. The house was empty. Lila's heart pounded as she opened the back door. She stepped into the heavy rain, the water soaking through her thin wrapper. Her legs trembled, her body stiff with cold, but she kept moving. 5 steps. 10 steps. Freedom felt closer than it ever had. Then a voice froze her in place. Where are you going? Her blood ran cold. Her father stood at the doorway, his shadow tall in the dim light. Daddy, Lila whispered, falling to her knees. I cannot stay here anymore. I will die if I stay. I cannot breathe. For a long moment, her father said nothing. His eyes softened slightly, but his mouth remained closed. Then he spoke, cold and firm. If you step out tonight, never return. Her chest tightened. She wanted to beg, to cry, to make him understand, but she had nothing left in that house. She stood, trembling, and walked past him. The gate closed behind her, and the sound echoed like a drum of finality. She was free. But freedom was not safety. The rain pounded her head, and the streets were dark, filled with puddles and potholes. Her small legs ached. Hunger twisted her stomach into knots. She wandered aimlessly, clutching her bag, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. By Upper Sakpomba Road, she collapsed near a roadside food cellar. Her clothes were soaked, her face streaked with tears and rain, and her body shivered uncontrollably. A kind woman noticed her. "Child, are you okay? Where's your family?" Lila shook her head. "I don't have one anymore." The woman crouched down, wrapping a shawl around Lila's shoulders. That simple kindness, just warmth, just attention broke something open inside Lila. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to breathe without fear. The woman offered her some food, and Lila ate with trembling hands, savoring every bite. She realized then that survival was not just running. It was also finding allies, kindness, and hope in a world that had been cruel. That night, she found a small place to sleep in a nearby alley, exhausted but alive. She hugged her bag close, whispering to herself, "I escaped. I am free. And one day, I will rise." Months passed. Lila had learned to survive in Lagos, far from the house that had once imprisoned her. She found work as a cleaner in a small clinic, living in a tiny room above a tailor's shop. Life was hard, her hands were raw. Her legs ached, and every day was a fight to earn her next meal. But for the first time, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Freedom. She rose before dawn, worked long hours, and studied at night, determined not to let her past define her future. Every coin she saved, every extra shift she took, brought her one step closer to the life she dreamed of. One afternoon, while walking to the market, she froze. Her heart skipped a beat. There he was. Her father, Mr. Osiratin. He looked older, wearier. Lines had formed on his face, and his eyes carried a shadow of regret. "Lila," he whispered, as if afraid to speak too loudly. She didn't run. She didn't cry. She simply looked at him with a calm, steady gaze. "Stay away," she said firmly. "I don't belong there anymore. I belong to me now." Her father's lips trembled. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Words failed him. Perhaps for the first time, he realized that his silence and cruelty had shaped the person before him, strong, independent, and unafraid. Lila turned and walked on. She didn't need his apology. She didn't need recognition. She had survived. She had grown stronger. She had become her own protector, her own hero. Weeks later, Lila applied for a nursing assistant program. She studied diligently, worked harder than anyone else, and earned a scholarship. Every sleepless night, every hardship, every scar reminded her that she was capable of rising above her past. Her stepmother never apologized. Her father never asked her to return. And she didn't care. She became Lila the resilient, a young woman who had escaped pain, conquered fear, and built a life from nothing. One evening, standing on the balcony of her modest apartment, she gazed at the Lagos skyline. The sun was setting, painting the city in shades of gold and crimson. She held her mother's photograph close to her heart and whispered softly, "I was a maid in my own father's house. But today, I am the master of my own life." Lila had learned that life might trap you, humiliate you, or make you feel worthless, but no one can take away your power to rise. Your home may fail you. Your family may fail you. But you, your courage, your will, your heart can never fail. And that was the beginning of her true life. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so you don't miss our next stories.